Here's why Novo Nordisk stock is a buy at $55. This is the agenda for this video. First, an introduction of Novo Nordisk, or Novo for short. Second, the challenges currently facing the company. Third, the bull thesis for Novo. Novo Nordisk is known for two main treatments. The first treatment is called Wegovy, which is prescribed to patients with obesity. It takes the form of a weekly injection and helps to achieve weight loss by suppressing a patient's appetite. Wegovy leads to an average weight loss of 15% in patients. From Novo's 2024 annual report, we can see that Wegovy is helping the company to gain a foothold in the very lucrative obesity treatment market. By 2035, more than half of all adults worldwide are estimated to be overweight or obese. The second treatment that Novo is known for is Ozempic, which is approved for treating type 2 diabetes. It also takes the form of a weekly injection and helps to manage the body's blood sugar levels by stimulating the pancreas to release higher levels of insulin and slowing down the release of food from the stomach. Besides this primary benefit, Ozempic also reduces the risk of heart attacks and strokes in patients. From this portion of Novo's 2024 annual report, the company is a market leader in this diabetes care segment. In fact, Ozempic is so popular that the company states that high demand has posed a challenge and necessitated the strategic prioritization of supply. Section 2. Problems facing the company. From this chart, Novo has severely underperformed the S&P 500 index fund over the past 2 years. In fact, its share price has decreased by almost 70% from its peak in July of 2024. Novo's stock price decline can be attributed to its reducing forward guidance. Throughout 2025, the company has been steadily revising its sales and operating profit growth metrics downwards. In the next section, we will explore the challenges currently facing the company. First, Novo is facing intense competition from competitor Eli Lilly in its primary weight loss and diabetes drug segment. Previously, Novo was a pioneer in the weight loss drug segment when it first introduced Wegovy in 2021. However, competitor Eli Lilly released its own weight loss treatment called Zepbound 2 years later in 2023. Studies have suggested that Zepbound is more effective than Wegovy in causing weight loss, and this has cast doubt on Novo's ability to maintain its position as a market leader in this segment. Second, Novo is also facing competition from compounders. Compounders are rival pharmacies that manufacture generic versions of Novo's patented Wegovy and Ozempic and sell them for a fraction of the price. While compounding is typically illegal because it infringes on Novo's exclusive patent over these drugs, compounding was temporarily permitted in 2022 by the US FDA. This was in response to a severe supply shortage for these drugs, which was caused by strong pent-up demand following Wegovy's recent release and supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic. In 2025, the FDA declared that both drugs were no longer in shortage and made compounding illegal again. However, this has not stopped compounders from continuing to manufacture and sell these drugs as they have been doing for the past few years. Many of them do so by exploiting a loophole which still allows the compounding of medications if these are personalized for individual patients. This means that compounders can qualify under this exception by simply making minor changes to the drug formula. In response, Novo is pursuing multiple lawsuits against these compounding pharmacies for infringement of its patents, and it will have to be seen whether it can persuade the US government to stem this loophole that allows compounding for personalized treatments. Therefore, compounders will likely continue to pose a challenge to Novo's top line in the short to medium term. To appreciate why compounders pose such a big threat to Novo's top line, consider this. In the United States, Novo's patented Wegovy and Ozempic drugs cost over US $1,000 per month. However, compounders offer a similar alternative that also contain the same active ingredient, semaglutide, for less than $500 per month. Therefore, it is easy to understand why most customers will choose the generic drugs made by compounders, even if these are not FDA approved or are of doubtful origin. Third, Novo recently suffered a disappointing clinical trial. One crucial drug in its pipeline is called CagriSema. This is a weight loss treatment that is supposed to succeed its current Wegovy treatment, and it is based on a new combination of active ingredients. CagriSema was expected to achieve an average weight loss of 25% in patients. However, clinical trials showed that it only achieved 22.5% average weight loss, which was merely on par with competitor Eli Lilly's Zepbound. This disappointed investors and suggests that the drug was not as revolutionary as previously hoped. Notwithstanding the aforementioned challenges, there are 5 reasons why Novo stock may still present a good buying opportunity at present levels. The next section will explore each in detail. First, the obesity and diabetes drugs market is lucrative enough to sustain a duopoly. Even if Novo loses market dominance in this segment to rival Eli Lilly, both companies can still outperform the broader market. From this chart, the market size for weight loss and diabetes drugs is expected to increase at a compounded annual growth rate of 25.9% annually until 2030, when it is expected to be valued at 130 billion US dollars. This is a situation of the rising tide lifting all boats, and Novo only needs to continue capturing a substantial portion of this market to deliver outsized shareholder returns in future. Although there will be many other rivals seeking to capture a share of this lucrative market segment as well, it is unlikely that they will succeed in overcoming the current duopoly held by Novo and Eli Lilly due to their patenting of key ingredients and the high research and development costs, as well as the lengthy approval process required to bring a totally new treatment to market. Second, Novo has sufficient runway left to exploit its blockbuster treatments and will continue to enjoy a competitive advantage in the medium term. The US is the company's most lucrative market, and its patents for Wegovy and Ozempic in the US will only expire in 2032. This gives management sufficient time to address the challenges mentioned earlier and to bring successors to these treatments to the market before their patents expire. Third, Novo does have a trick up its sleeve in the treatment pipeline. If you recall, the company's Wegovy is currently the market leader in weight loss treatment. However, Wegovy takes the form of a self-administered weekly injection. This poses a major hurdle to its adoption by many patients in the market for obesity treatments because injections are much more physically invasive and many patients have a fear of needles. Therefore, it is easy to see why both Novo and competitor Eli Lilly have been racing to be the first to bring an oral weight loss pill to market. Recently, Novo reported positive late-stage trial results for its oral weight loss treatment, which has been dubbed the Wegovy pill. The Wegovy pill reportedly achieved an average of 16.6% weight loss in patients, which is on par with the effects of the current injectable version of Wegovy. The US FDA is expected to approve oral Wegovy by the fourth quarter of 2025. In contrast, competitor Eli Lilly's weight loss pill called orforglipron is still in a less advanced stage of development and can only hit the market in the middle of 2026 at the earliest. Fourth, Novo is taking active steps to improve its operational efficiencies moving forward. It recently laid off over 11% of its current global headcount and streamlined operations, which will free up cost savings of over $1 billion US dollars annually from 2026 onwards. This extra cash flow can be put towards increasing shareholder value, such as through reinvestment into core growth areas. While Novo is expected to suffer a $1.4 billion US dollar hit to its operating income in this current quarter due to severance payouts, this is ultimately a step in the right direction by management over the longer term. Fifth, Novo is still a fundamentally excellent company notwithstanding the present challenges. While its shares have performed poorly over the past year, its financials tell a different story. The company is consistently growing both its top and bottom lines year after year, and both sales and net earnings have more than doubled over the past 5 years. Novo's increasing profits are also translating into increasing cash flow. The company's cash from operations have increased by more than 50% over the past 3 years. Novo is also attractively valued at current prices. Over the past 10 years, Novo has traded at an average price-to-earnings ratio of 27.12. However, its current trailing 12 months price-to-earnings ratio is only about half of this average, at 13.68. This may signal a mispricing of the company since the market is essentially implying that Novo is expected to grow at a much slower rate today than it did 5 years ago, which ignores the fact that the company today is in a much stronger position due to the success of Ozempic and Wegovy. Therefore, Novo's share price can potentially double from multiple expansion alone if its price-to-earnings ratio can return to its long-term average, even if its earnings remain stagnant. These odds present a favorable risk-to-reward ratio. Further, Novo has also consistently repurchased its shares over the past decade. This has increased the ownership stake of existing shareholders by 18%. Also, share repurchases indicate that management has confidence in the future prospects of the company and believes that the current challenges can be resolved. In fact, it would be even better if management can take advantage of the present drawdown to accelerate its share repurchase program, as they will be able to buy back even more shares for the same amount of money. Investors who purchase shares at a price of 54.5 US dollars at the time of this recording will also enjoy a guaranteed return of 3.08% per annum in the form of dividends. This dividend is also sustainable because the free cash flow payout ratio is only about 63%, which means that Novo is only paying out about 63 cents of every dollar of free cash flow that it generates as dividends. Further, Novo also has a track record of increasing its dividends over the years. In summary, Novo Nordisk Nordisk stock is an attractive buying opportunity at present levels. While some investors may be discouraged by the current 70% drawdown and believe that the stock may continue to fall further, it is helpful to look at the long-term performance of the stock since 2000. During this period, the stock has suffered many similar drawdowns but still managed to recover from them. In fact, an initial investment in 2000 would have increased by 16 times today and far outperformed the S&P 500 index fund, notwithstanding the stock's recent drawdown. Therefore, to conclude, patient investors who have an appetite for calculated risks may consider buying the company at current levels and potentially using volatility to their advantage. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you in the next one.